Hey everyone, it's Foxx from modelmaking.guru here. Hello and welcome to another Partwork build video. Now, like last time, my current real life situation looking after Mama Fox means this episode will be another twofer catch-up, covering both my current Fanhome builds, the 1/6 scale Mark III Ironman Armour, and the Fast and Furious 1/8 scale Dodge Charger RT. Because time's been limited, I've gone ahead and assembled all the backlogged issues for both, and today I'll be catching you up on where I've gotten to. I've built up to issue 46 of the Dodge and issue 50 of Ironman. Now, before I dive in, let me explain that both Partworks have been provided to me by my good friends at fanhome.com at no cost, and of course, I want to throw a massive thank you to them. Now, if you don't know who Fanhome are, here's a quick video. During the assembly, I used a few tools that you can see here. A good screwdriver set, storage box for screws, oil to make metal-to-metal screws less hassle, and a Dodo juice towel to protect the beautiful shiny paint jobs on the Partworks from scrapes and scratches and my ham-fistedness. All these items are available for you to buy in my Amazon stores. Links below the description of this video. Now, let's get to the show and tell. Now, before we get going, you can see here quite a lot of work has been done. But before we get going, I need to quickly go through all the stuff that's turned up in these packages. This is 3 sets of packages. We've got from issue 35 to issue 46 to cover here. So it's not just this dirty great big model that you get bits of. If you've never done a Partwork before, you probably know anyway. But if you don't know, you do get all the magazines as well. You get one for each. Technically, it's one a week, but you get 4 every month. So we've got all these magazines. Now, if you've not seen one of these before, they are brilliant. You don't just get the dirty great big model, you get all the information, you get the fluff, you get the lore, and these magazines always follow the same format. You've got fluff and lore about the movies, and sometimes it's the making of the movies, and sometimes it's actually just storylines and characters. You get the bit of history of Dodge, always a bit interesting that. I do apologise if you can hear my stomach rumbling, it's almost dinner time. You get your instructions, and then towards the end of the magazine you get information on tuning and muscle cars, and the whole tuning and street racing culture is kind of covered here, and the history of street racing and the history of muscle cars and all that kind of stuff. It's always really interesting. Now, I will admit I still haven't watched the movies. I know I am rubbish. I haven't even watched the movies yet. I keep meaning to, and I keep not getting around to it. So, but as I'm reading more of the fluff and the lore, it does kind of make me think, you know what, I should really dip my toe in and have look at that. Now that, Colin would look at that and see orcs. There's orcs in it. It's orcs. So yeah, Colin would love that. But yeah, the more I read of the lore and stuff, I really should get around to watching them. So I've got thousands of more of issues to go through. Thousands of more of issues? I'm talking rubbish. I've got thousands more magazines to go through. So we shall see where we end up, but I'll see if I can at some point watch at least one of the movies, if not more. So let's find out if that ever happens. But that's the magazines. We get all of those from issues 36 to 40, no, issues 35 to 46. I can't remember. We also get, however, some extra bits and bobs in these deliveries. We get, with all these Partworks, you always get some little free gifts, whichever subscription you're on. First of all, I have this lovely Fast and Furious baseball cap. Now, if you know me, you know I don't wear baseball caps, so I won't be wearing this. It will just go into my little collection of stuff. It's not a baseball cap that I wear, it's a pilot's cap. Before we start that conversation, my cap is not a baseball cap, it's a pilot cap. 1943 World War II US pilot cap. That's what I wear, not a baseball cap. I'm not going to hear an argument. No, I'm not hearing anything other than that. I don't wear baseball caps. But you get this awesome baseball cap. Everybody takes the mickey at me because of my pilot's cap, but it's not a baseball cap. We also get, I'm waffling today, we also get one of these. It's a small white box with words on the front, yes. With these Partworks, you tend to get one of these, not with all of them, but with a lot of them. We've got a power bank. Now, most of these come as like little flat things, little flat sort of, hard drive size power banks. But we've got, with this time, it's a tubular power bank with the Fast and Furious logo on it. And they're really quite cool. I can't tell you anything about it because I have no idea. Its capacity is 2200 See? 2200 That means it contains electrics or something. But yeah, you get one of these. Really handy. I've got loads of these now. I've got one from this. I've got one from Ironman. I've got one from the X-Wing. I've got loads of these piling up. And they're really handy because when you've got like 55 things plugged into your computer charging, like, you've got your tablet and your phone, and if you're really that old, a phablet, and you might have something else plugged in, and you've got all your USB ports taken up with keyboards and mice and things, you're suddenly like, oh crap, I need to charge X, and I've not got any. That's where these things come in. So I've got loads of these sitting around, and they are really good. They're really quite good. They're really quite good power banks. So yeah, you get one of them. That's quite handy. So that's what you get in this pack of 3. Now I've got 3 boxes here. It's all those issues is like 3 months worth because I've let this build up. Because I'm looking after Mama Fox. So we'll have a quick look now. That's all the bits that come with it. Let's have a look now at the actual work that I have done with my bare hands. Now, as you can no doubt tell by the angle of dangle, yeah, we're looking at the big beastly butt of this massive vehicle. And this is where we've focused all these issues. This is where the assembly's been done. We've built the fuel tank. I nearly said soundtrack then. Why did I nearly say soundtrack? What, I don't understand how my brain works sometimes. We built the fuel tank, the differential, the rear axle, the 2 rear wheels, the leaf spring suspension, which is gorgeous, and the drive shaft. And there's a little bit on the other side as well, which I'll show you in a minute, a bit of wiring and electrickery, which is actually easier. And I was able to do it, so it wasn't complicated. If I can do it, anyone can do it. But yes, it's been there's not a lot to talk about here. It's a real simple construction. It's all really nice and straightforward. Everything fits beautifully. There were no real complicated issues, a little bit of fiddliness. You've got 2-part drive shaft that goes in here and just slips in. You've got the rear axle and the differential, which went together just with a small number of pieces, beautifully went together, all screwed in. There is the brake line on the other side of the differential here that's a little bit fiddly to get in the right angle, but it does fit. You just have to kind of tease it a little bit. We have the wheels themselves. We built 2 already. It's exactly the same assembly for these. They just screw on. And the leaf spring suspension, which I really loved for 2 reasons. One, first of all, it's actual proper metal leaf springs. It's not just a piece of plastic. It's actual proper metal leaf springs. Now, I used to drive a Series 3 Land Rover, and I know all about leaf spring suspensions and all the joys they can bring to all the spleens in your body when you're driving over lumpy ground. Oh yes. So to build these was fantastic because they're actually metal. They're all individual strips held together with the clamps. They're proper leaf springs. And this is what made this the best thing for me. Not only do you get proper metal leaf springs, they're actually held onto these plates with actual bolts, and they give you a little tool to do it, a little bolt adding tool, like a little tiny wrench. Oh, it was fantastic because you've got the U-clamps underneath the axle that push the axle up onto the plates here. And you have to actually bolt these in. Oh, I was so happy. If you watch the live stream where I assembled this, it really made my day because it's like proper manly mechanical goodness. So thank you, Fanhome, for providing this little tiny nut tool, tightening tool. You put the nut in the end and you twist it like that. Oh, I wish there could have been more things like this, more nuts and bolts with these little. Oh, that'd be brilliant. Instead of so many screws, if there were more nuts and bolts, this would be incredible. Now this all goes together really, really nicely. The only things I'll say, there's also the brake cable here, which you can see coming along here. It goes underneath and into a little adapter. Do you remember, if you watch the live stream, where I put the little gold adapter in the engine bay where all the brake cables come from? And it was a nightmare to install because it was hard to get to. There's one that goes on the axle. It's very easy to put in, and it's actually not a nightmare to install the cable because you can quite easily, with a pair of tweezers, get the cable onto the adapter in the front and then feed it through here. Like with the other cables in the engine bay, though, I would recommend some tactical use of super glue or CA glue, cyanoacrylate glue. Get yourself some very thin super glue or you can use thick super glue if you're careful. But basically what you want to do is get the brake cable here. It's a hollow tube, hollow bendy rubber tube. You can see it moves. You want to glue it to the adapter that's at that end in the engine bay. Remember the gold thing? Put it on there and just touch a little bit of super glue on it to lock it in place. And then after about 5 minutes, then attach this end of the cable. And again, once it's on the little pin, put a little tiny dot of super glue, just because they go on quite easily, but they're not immune to coming off. And the way this hangs, I've got a little bit of tape you can just see here. I've got a little bit of tape holding this, just keeping it tidy, because it does hang down, and you can guarantee every time you pick this thing up, you're going to pull that cable and it'll pop out, and it's not a pain to get in, but you don't want to keep doing that. So as with the other brake cables and other HT leads, just put the cable on and put the tiniest touch of super glue with a cocktail stick just to lock it in place so it's not going to come out, or not going to come out very easily. Now, it is a bit long, this cable. You can see here, it's got a bit of, I've taped it down because it hangs a bit loose. So you could potentially, you've got a little sort of restrictor here, but you could potentially cut a little bit off the end. But I wouldn't recommend that unless you're really confident, because you don't want to make it too short and suddenly find you're knackered and you can't do anything with it. So that is what went on here. The battery pack here is the fuel tank. It's quite simple, 2 or 3 pieces, and it's just a little battery compartment, just slots in and there's one wire that comes out. It's not complicated at all. I am rubbish at electrical stuff, and if I can do this, like I said, it's a doddle. There's an on-off switch here. That's the on-off switch for the whole car, and from this battery pack, all the wiring will come out for your lights and your horns and your engine sounds and all the other stuff. So what I'll do, I'll turn this over. That wheel's a bit stiff. I must loosen that screw. I'll turn all this over, and we'll have a look at the really, really complicated wiring that broke my brain. It didn't break my brain. It was dead easy. Okay, so on the other side, on the upper area, we have wiring. Oh, I'm so allergic to wire. I am so inept at electrics and wiring and light. I really am. It's me giving me a load of wiring is like putting the Pope in a strip club. Anyway, I can happily report that despite opening the package and seeing wires and having a little bit of a yip, I was like, oh, I've got the yips. It's really easy. The battery pack you can see at the back here, that is quite simply just a box, and you build the batteries into it. No problem. 3 AAA batteries, I think. Double A, I can't remember. I think it's 3 AAA batteries. And there's an on-off switch in there. You have a wire coming out into this tiny, tiny little motherboard. Let's move that in for you. There you go. Tiny little motherboard. With 1 chip and many sockets, and then you have a few wires you have to connect in. Now, they are all labelled and they're all different colours and colour coded, and it's really easy to follow in the instructions, so you know which wire goes where, and it's not hard to do at all. You also have to install the speaker here because there are sounds on this. Now, I'm going to play you the sounds. You have to keep in mind, when this is finished, that speaker will be covered up with bits and bobs and plastic and stuff. It's going to sound a bit rubbish at the minute because it's not covered up with anything, and it's a little tiny speaker, so it might sound a bit echoey and tinny. If any of you out there are good at the electronicals, it will probably be very easy to replace this board with something else of your own making. As long as you can get these sockets, or you replace that chip with a little Arduino board or something, it probably wouldn't be, I would guess, quite a hard task to replace that, because it's only a simple little board and it just screws in, and as long as you can connect the wires to it in some way or other, you'd probably be all right. So if you wanted to completely replace the sounds that come with this, it's only 2 sounds. If you wanted to completely replace the sounds that come with this, it's probably not that big a deal if you know what you're doing. So quite simply, you have an on-off switch on the battery pack box at the back, and you have 2 switches to play with at the moment. And what you do, one of them is for this lighting strip here. I'm going to guess this is dashboard lights because they're all in a straight row. And what you do, hit the switch. Yes, they're a yellowy colour, and they probably don't look very bright on screen, but they are quite nice and bright. And I'm going to guess because they're a yellowy tint and they're all in a line, and there's a thing there that looks like a bit like a steering column. I'm going to guess they're probably designed to go in the dashboard for the center, well, for the dials and stuff. So that's probably for your dials, but it works, so it proves I can do electrics. Now, the other switch is for the audio, and you've got 3 stages. You've got 3 presses. 1 press does the horn, 1 press does like an engine start and idle sound, and 1 press turns it off. Now, I'll warn you, this is probably going to sound really clippy because it is really, really loud. It is actually exceptionally loud, so prepare yourself. And I have to say the actual sound for the engine start and idle, it's very low quality. This is why, if you know what you're doing with electrics, you might want to replace this board with your own audio chip, because you can probably get it's really low bit rate. It's like, I don't even know if it's 8-bit. When you hear it, you might get the idea. If you've played old 8-bit games with, like, remember going and playing Duke Nukem and the low quality sounds, it's like that. So the first one is the horn. Stand by for loud noise. If you're wearing headphones, take them off now. Told you it was loud. Yeah. Then we have the engine start and idle. And a bit of revving. and then you press it again and it stops. I thought I'd let that. I actually stopped that because it goes on for a little while. It's like the engine starts and then he revs it a little bit. It's unfortunately a bit of a really low quality sound. So if you know what you're doing, it would be worth, let me turn those lights off, it would be worth replacing that with something of a higher bit rate, because it's only a little tiny speaker. It could partially be that. If I cover it up, it sounds a little bit better, and it will have stuff on top of it once this is all finished, so it might sound a lot better once the rest of the car is built over it. But yeah, you could probably get a much higher bit rate audio sample. But the thing is, once you've built this, let's be perfectly honest, once you've built this, you're probably never going to turn the lights on, and if you ever do, you're probably never going to use the audio sounds anyway, so it's not the end of the world. It's nice to have it. So anyway, that's where we're up to with the Dodge Charger. This is very, very heavy, and it's only going to get heavier. I would estimate this at about 3 to 4 keys, maybe. I don't know. I'm no good with weights, but it's definitely more than maybe 3 or 4 kilograms, something like that. And that's just this bit. But until next time, let's leave that there. We'll now go and have a look at Ron Mann's. Oh, yes. Behold the work that I have done with my fair hands. Yes, you'll notice we've come quite a long way. Now, I haven't shown you much of the leg before, but I'll go through it in a minute. Not a lot has actually gone on. This build is a little less intensive than the Dodge Charger build, and I'll explain that in a minute. But as you can see, there's not a lot gone on, but we've got some significant buildulation done. Now, as with the other Partwork, as with the Dodge, of course, it's all about the magazines. This is issue 34 to issue 50. And again, it's the same sort of format. It's fluff and lore. Now, because this is a Marvel comic property, you've got the comics and the films, it's going to be 99% fluff and lore. So you've got fluff and lore, like a backstory and Marvel history, and that's a really badly drawn face. That's a terrible face. Lots of backstory. Then you've got the instructions, and then, of course, you have more fluff and lore. Now, of course, it's tons of information, all of these, and I've always said this before, a bit like the Fast and Furious movies. I've never been a big fan of Marvel comics, not at all. There's something about the art style, and I know it's always different artists, but there's something about the general art style that's always like gravel my ass. It's never quite sat well with me. However, when I started watching the Marvel movies, of course, I fell in love completely, and now I love the movies. I love the whole MCU. Comics, not so much, but it is growing on me as I'm reading through these magazines, a bit like with the Dodge, as I'm reading through all the magazines, you know, going through all the backstory and all the stuff, and there's 50 or 60 years of history here, then I am sort of learning things, and it's making it more appealing to me, more interesting. So, you know, but there is one thing I have to say. On most of these magazines, apart from one, so far in the 50 issues we've had, they have a different picture of Iron Man on the cover of each one, from a different era by a different artist. And I have to say, of all the mobile suits, then, of all the Iron Man suits, I think I found the dumbest of all the faces, and it is this one. I mean, what? It's two things. First of all, it's a metal mask, so how exactly is it squinting? Also, why have you made it look like he's pooping? It's a cross between someone pooping and having a tough time of it, and that weird, really, really creepy McDonald's Happy Meal character with the squinty eyes and the unfortunately creepy grin. That really freaks me out every time I go to McDonald's. It's like, it looks like I wouldn't want to put my children anywhere near that, but anyway. So you got these really creepy, like weird, and then you've got like goofy buck teeth. What? Ha! He's missing a pen protector. He's like, duh. That is the stupidest Iron Man face I've ever seen in my entire life, and we've got 50 issues to go yet, or more, so I'm sure there might be another one. But that, I mean, just really, I'm sure there's a law reason it looks like that, but it's just nonsense. That is just absolute nonsense. It's from Iron Man Volume 3, number 55 by Mike Grell. But, no, it's sorry, whoever the artist is. I don't know if Mike Grell's the artist or the writer, but that's stupid. Anyway, we also, like with the Dodge, we get some freebies. We get some gifts. We get, again, an awesome baseball cap, an Iron Man. I want one that says Ron Mann's. An Iron Man baseball cap. Again, I don't wear baseball caps, but it'll go in my collection, so that's very nice. And you guessed it. Can you guess what it is? Yeah, it's a power bank. It's another power bank. They do like their power banks. D'Agostini and Fanhome. But this one's a flat one, and it's really rather nice. Look at that. Oh yeah. Now this one again is a certain size. What size is it? It contains 2,600 milliamp. So it's a bit bigger, this one, but it's really nice. It's nice and flat. It's got a power button and USB and a micro USB. So again, you charge it up and then you can plug things in to either run them off it or to charge your phone or device or whatever. So yeah, really handy. I do like the fact you give these power banks, because power banks are kind of something useful in today's everyday life. So what's been happening with the Ironman? Well, there's not a lot to update. With this Ironman, I'm going to be honest, you don't get like a lot of stuff to do in all the issues. We had quite a lot to do in some of them, and then for a few of these issues it's been a case of just put a couple of things together. So it doesn't look like you've made a lot of progress, but at the end of the day it's a single figure. You've got 2 arms, 2 legs, a torso and a head. There's not really much you can do with that. So they've got to make it last. So we have assembled, or almost completely assembled, the left leg. We've not done this side yet. But in these issues we've mostly assembled the left leg. We have the upper thigh, which, remember when we made that meaty joint? Now, I haven't filmed building the leg. When I get back to doing proper filming episodes where I'm showing you what I'm doing, I will film making the joint, because there's a specific thing with the knee joint. I've actually added a little bit of oil into this because it's a very, very tight ratchet joint, and if you don't add a little bit of oil to it, you might struggle to get it to actually move. It's quite a tight joint though, and it has to be because it's got to support lots of weight. So we built the upper and lower thighs. We have with some angular armour here, if I can get it on camera. We have this little bit of shin armour, or instep armour. We have the armour at the back there, and then this is my favourite bit. Are you ready for this? Watch this. I mean, look at this sexy collar. Watch this. Oh yes, that's really sexy. It just needs to make a little noise. That is a really satisfying, smooth. Oh, I like that. And all this complicated gubbins in here. It looks really complicated, but it's really easy to do. It's just simple snap together. Went together like a dream. No issues at all. I started with installing the ankle joint and then building up the rest of the leg. We also have built an extra foot, the right foot this time. That's been assembled now, and that works if I press the little button. Whee! That is exactly the same assembly as the other foot, so nothing to report there. And we've been left with a few bits and bobs that are yet to go on. We've got things, I think this is part of the crotch area or some sort of hip type arrangement. But most of it is, of course, this leg. And I have to say, isn't that beautiful? I mean, look at that. The paint. This is why I'm wearing the gloves, because I know the Dodge is nice. The Dodge is lovely and shiny and black, but this is just, this candy red. And some of the panels are ever so slightly different tints, and it's just so nice. I don't want to damage this paint job at all. There's a few little chips and bits here and there where it's got joints and things, but you can't really get around that where the armour catches. You're going to get a few little chips. When I finish building this, I probably will do some weathering on it. I will give it a bit of a chip damage look, probably. I don't know yet. I might just leave it. But yeah, that is beautiful. So you've only got the joint there. You've got joints at the ankle, so you can go up and down, and you've got left and right a little bit, and of course you've got the toe joint there, which I must tighten those screws up. It's a bit loose, that one. The one's a lot tighter. And you can obviously have the armour move there, up and down. But that, I've got to tell you, this is probably about 2 kilograms, about 1.5 kilograms, 2 kilograms. That is really heavy. Weighs a ton. So yeah, up until this point I didn't really have a good feel for how big this figure was going to be, but now I've kind of got a feel for how big this figure's. Yeah. Now here's a handy tip. When you assemble this, you will see this piston here. Hopefully you can see it. This piston here. 2 little tips. First of all, this piston just snaps into place. You pop it down, it's got 2 pins that go into 2 holes. However, they are a very, very, very tight fit. So when you put in this piston in, I would recommend, first of all, get yourself a sharp knife and make sure you trim off any extra bits of flash or like mismoulding on the 2 pins, because they're very, very tight into the holes, and if there's a little bit of extra plastic there, they're not going to go in. Second of all, I would get yourself a pair of either rubber lined or rubber nosed pliers, and what you want to do is where the rod goes into the plastic bit, you want to get the pliers and just compress them like that, because the pin goes in most of the way and then you have to push it into place to click into place, but it's on this plastic thing here. This bit here is kind of bendy, it flexes, so you can't really push down on it very hard. So get yourself some pliers on either side of that and push them together, but Do it if you can use rubber nosed pliers. Don't do like me and use regular pliers, because I scrape some of the paint off these. Now, on that, and do it at this end as well. It just pushes it into place. Now, if you do end up scraping any paint off that, I did it here. It looks a bit damaged. Where is it? There it is. I found if you scrape any paint off the silver bits, or if you scrape any paint off the gold plastic bits, here's the thing. A Uniposca paint pen, silver and gold, are an exact match. I had a big nub, like a sprue nub, on this piece here. Was it that piece? No, it was this piece here. There's a big nub on this piece here, like it had come off the sprue. I cut it away. I filed it down. Of course, it's red plastic under there. So what I did was I got my Uniposca paint pen, gold. It's acrylic paint pen, and I just ran it across the edge, and it's an almost exact match for that edge. Not 100% exact, but nobody will ever notice it. So if you are doing this and you just want to be safe, if you scrape any of the silver or gold off, get yourself a Uniposca paint pen in gold and silver, and you can do all the little touch-ups you want. It'll fit perfectly. A little handy tip for you there. So yes, so that is where I'm up to on the Ironman. Like I say, not a lot to report. We are at the stage now where you get a few little tasks in each issue. So if you get your box each month and you've got 4 issues, you might not be doing a lot of building. You might not get very far, but this is there's a lot more little tiny fiddly things in this than, say, the Dodge, where you're building the entire drive shaft and axle system. In this, you might just build the lower leg or the upper leg over the course of 3 or 4 issues. So, be patient with it. It's building up slowly. We've got the rest of that leg to do. We've got the entire right leg to do, of course. We've done both arms, so we still have the entire torso and the hips. And I think that's probably it then. I don't know if I get the stand with this. I don't know if I'm on that package or not. Might do. I don't know yet. But that's where I'm up to with that. So that is going to do me. Oh, yes. Don't worry about that. That's just tape holding bits together so I don't lose them. I've not finished assembling that yet. So yes, that's going to do us. Thank you very much for watching. Again, apologies, this is just a quick overview video. Like I say, I would ideally like to get back to the actual filming, doing the things. I just love that so much. I'm going to leave it open. I can't wait to get back to actually filming the doings, showing me doing it each month. But just while I'm caring for Mama Fox, it's just time is a real bit precious at the minute, and I haven't really got the time to do that. So if I can't do proper filmy stuff and doing things, I'll do these little updates for you every couple of months, just when I get a couple of boxes together. But I will do my best to try and do some proper monthly filming for you if I can, Mama Fox allowing. But until then, thank you very much for watching. Again, a massive thank you to the guys at Fanhome for providing this and the Dodge. I really can't express my gratitude enough that I'm getting these Partworks to build up. Again, disclaimer, I am receiving these Partworks free of charge. I'm not being paid for this. I'm not receiving any compensation for doing these Partworks other than I'm receiving the Partworks. So, disclosure. But all opinions are my own. They have no creative input into these videos. It's all my own opinions. So, yeah, but massive thank you to the guys at Fanhome. Don't forget, of course, if you'd like to keep supporting this channel, if you'd like to keep this channel alive and ensure that I can continue to make content, hopefully more in the coming months, then please do consider becoming a patron or a channel member. You can go to patreon.com/modelmakingguru to become a patron, or you can just press the join button underneath this video or any of my video content to become a channel member. Either way, you're supporting the channel directly, you're paying my wages quite literally and putting food on my table, but you're making it possible for me to do this as a living. This is what I do for a living, so do consider becoming a patron or an member. Now, that's going to do me, so thank you very much for watching. Take care of yourselves. Now I've got these Partworks out of the way, I'm going to crack on, I think, with the Imperial Knight Canis Rex will be my next project, free models, so stay tuned for that in the coming days. Anyway, until then, thank you very much. Take care of yourselves. Go make something awesome like this or the Dodge. Go be awesome like this or the Dodge. And until then, adios amoebas. Love noises.